Anxiety wrapped around me until I slept near dawn. The men, however, were vigilant through the night. Even as I drifted in and out of consciousness, I could see them nearby persisting against the night. The break of dawn burned my eyes as I heard it. A cannon? The crack of a gunshot tore through the morning air, and in the distance I heard men shouting and the clang of metal. The fighting had begun. The captains looked at one another and nodded.
It's time we left.
I stared at him for a moment, perhaps not yet fully awake, until I understood what he was saying. Right. With a quick nod, I readied myself to go, then...
Stop! What do you think you're doing? We were ordered to stay here. Did you just tell me to stop?
Even during our lengthy march the day before, I'd never seen Hijikata mad. Maybe, because of his position as commander, he was afraid to express himself when his temper flared up, but it looked as if he reached his limit. Normally, he left the yelling to Nagakura and stayed patient when speaking with army officials. This time, however, he finally had enough.
I thought your job here was to protect the Imperial estate, but you'd rather sit on your fat ass. We're here to stop those Choshu assholes from attacking. Tell me, what are the Choshu doing? But we haven't received any orders.
Hijikata was in no mood for excuses. Mewed.
If you've got any kind of pride in your job, then forget your goddamn orders and move!
Without even waiting for a response, Hijikata spun around and stalked off, fuming. Where are we going? I didn't dare raise my voice above a whisper, but I asked Saito, who was walking near me.
To the enemy, which, in this case, means Hamaguri Gate.
Hamaguri Gate? You mean where Aizu's main force is protecting, right?
The battle at the gate is likely to be an intense one. You'd better prepare yourself.
All right. Hijikata's fury seemed to rouse the Aizu's reserve, who up to this point seemed flustered by the threat of conflict watching the Shinsengumi march. At the end, they followed the Shinsengumi to the Hamaguri Gate. Before long, we'd arrived. Oh my gosh. The gate was pockmarked with scores of bullets, and everywhere dead and dying soldiers littered the ground. The acrid stink of firearms hung in the air. Even though I tried to prepare myself mentally for what lay before me, my heart shattered from the traces of war occurring ahead. The enemy, however, was nowhere to be seen. We had arrived too late. The battle was already over. After a moment of stunned silence, several of our men were dispatched by Hijikata to determine what happened. Then Kondo sighed.
Oh, what are the Choshu thinking? They've raided the Imperial estate. I find it difficult to know what they're doing. How do they claim to be an imperialist domain?
Kondo simply nodded. The Choshu define themselves as among those who revere the Emperor, yet they attack his home? It didn't make sense to me either. Nevertheless, the damage was done. I was in the middle of pondering their reasons when Saito returned to me.
It appears the Choshu attacked Hamaguri in the early morning, but were repelled by the combined forces of the Aizu and Satsuma.
The forces standing against them were too much for the Choshu, who were forced to retreat. The corner of Hijikata's mouth curled into a grin.
So, Satsuma is helping Aizu now, are they? Times sure are changing. Considering their less than friendly past, it would seem the Choshu became their common foe.
The Satsuma and Aizu domains hadn't been on the best of terms. I thought that they outsmarted the family domain and allied with the imperial court to expel foreigners. However, I recall my father telling me that they were not much different than the Choshu. Unlike the Choshu, however, they'd gone to war with a foreign force and suffered a devastating loss. Following their defeat, I learned the Satsuma began to reconsider their nationalistic stance. However, these were only rumors, and what had come to pass had yet to be fully determined.
Hijikata! Supposedly there's still some of those Choshu bastards fighting over at the Kogai Gate.
Hijikata's expression changed as he considered Harada's words, but before he could open his mouth to speak, Yamazaki appeared.
Commander, We believe the men who led this raid are headed for Mount Tenno.
Mount Tenno was located between Kyoto and Osaka. Supposedly, they're in the middle of escaping from Fushimi towards Osaka. After hearing the report from both Harada and Yamazaki, Hijikata contemplated deeply. Although Kondo was recognized as the formal head of the Shinsengumi, I learned from everyone that all major decisions were deferred to Hijikata. This was no exception, and I could see that all eyes were on him. He was silent for a few moments, and then I saw his mouth curve in a small smile.
Looks like our work's cut out for us, boys. Harada, take your men to Kogai Gate to deal with those Choshu bastards.
Sure thing, boss.
Saito, Yamazaki, I want you to figure out what the situation is here. Hold Hamaguri Gate.
As you wish. Got it.
Your job's a tough one, Chief. I know this is a bitch, but I want you to speak with the Aizu bigwigs about a punitive expedition.
So, punitive expedition for the Choshu, right?
Some of those bastards are headed for Tenno, but others will run around and cause trouble. If we're gonna go after them, then we'll need to leave Kyoto, and only you can get us those papers.
The Shinsengumi were entrusted with protection of Kyoto, and if this war was for aiding the Aizu, then they had to do more than just guard the gate. Leaving our post, however, to chase after the Choshu troops meant that we needed permission from the military commissioner, meaning the Aizu.
I see. If it's the chief of the Shinsengumi, the commissioner's office will listen to what we want.
After what we'd gone through the day before, I didn't imagine Kondo's task would be an easy one. Still, if the representative was anyone other than Kondo, the Aizu would be unlikely to grant the request, let alone entertain the notion of a meeting.
Again, I want you to go with him. Somebody has to keep an eye on our chief, alright?
Of course, I'll do my best, Commander.
Another laugh ran through the soldiers, and Kondo's mouth twisted into a wry sort of grin. Perhaps he chose not to deny it because he knew he might go a little crazy.
The rest of you are coming with me to Tenno. As for you... He looked directly at me.
I wasn't a warrior, nor did I have political ties. Hijikata didn't know what to do with me. Suddenly I felt very much like dead weight.
You can't go with Kondo, but other than that, it's up to you.
All right. Kondo was meeting with the leaders of the Aizu. If I joined him, there would be nothing for me. I had many options for what I could do. Hijikata would be pursuing the leaders of the Choshu attack toward Tenno Mountain. Saito would be staying at Hamaguri Gate to protect it and to gather information. Harada and his men would be going to Kogai Gate to stop the attack on the Imperial Estate. The question was, where would I go? Where we have never gone before. I decided to accompany Harada to the Kogai Gate. When we arrived, it was immediately clear that the fight wasn't as decisive as the one at Hamaguri. The Judiciary Commissioner's men, who moved to Kogai from Hamaguri, were still engaged with a number of Choshu soldiers refusing to yield.
You should probably stay here, Chizuru. It's going to be pretty dangerous out there.
Before I could respond, he was off, the rest of the Shinsengumi thundering into the battle behind him.
All right, men, let's go!
Harada led the Shinsengumi warriors and dived right into the center of the battlefield.
If you want to get to the Imperial Estate, you're gonna have to get through us first.
Damn it! Is that the Shinsengumi?
Damn right it is. If any of you are looking for a quick, glorious death, then come at me.
Bastard!
There's my quippy boy. War cries rose up from both sides and battle was joined. This time, however, the force defending the Imperial Estate had the Shinsengumi on their side. The battle did not last long.
Is this the best we can do?
A great moan of pain went up from the soldiers of the Choshu.
Don't let them escape! After them!
The officers of the Judiciary Commissioner shouted to their men, who slowly began to advance. Hey, it's this guy. They had scarcely begun to move, however, when the man covering the Choshu escape turned and faced them.
I hope you feel honored, boys. It looks like I'm going to be playing with you for a bit.
There was a flash of silver, and a sound like the crack of thunder filled the air. The sound rang loudly in my ears, and I saw the man holding a silver barrel with smoke rising from it. A gun? It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It was smaller than a normal gun, making it easier to conceal. It was called a handgun.
What's that? Did the sound of my pistol scare you?
He looked pointedly at the remaining officials, his mouth drawn open in a toothy grin. The reason why people couldn't approach him was because of his aura rather than a fear of the gun. He was clearly outnumbered, but looked no more concerned than if he were facing no enemies at all. It was clear to everyone that he was no normal man.
Well, it sure is nice of you to play with us, but don't you think it's a little unfair if you're the only one with a gun?
Harada? Harada moved a few steps closer to the stranger.
Really? Nah, seems fair to me. Besides, you've got that big old pig sticker yourself.
Both men grinned a challenge to one another. Almost too fast to see, the point of Harada's spear swept through the air toward the stranger, who leaned out of the way at the last moment.
Well, you seem to be spoiling for a fight. But what kind of man charges someone with a gun?
Using a toy to keep others at a distance is pathetic for any real warrior. Wouldn't you agree?
The stranger grinned.
I'm Kyo Shiranui, or Mr. Shiranui to you. You may introduce yourself as well.
I'm Sanosuke Harada, the captain of the Shinsengumi's 10th Division.
They seemed to see one another not so much as enemies, but as rivals. The air between them was tense, but I felt no evil intent from either man. Cheer for Harada? What the heck? Come on, look. Harada does not need a cheerleading girl, okay? He needs a tough, independent woman. We got this. Oh dear.
Chizuru, I told you to stay back.
If I was honest with myself, I was terrified. This strange man was very dangerous, but Harada saw something in him, so perhaps he would hear me out. I didn't let Harada finish. Mr. Shiranui, right? Could you leave now?
Aw, this just started becoming fun for me. Stay out of my way.
Yes, but can't you let this all go?
Huh? What the hell, kid? If you're trying to screw with me, I'll end you right here.
I felt a cold bead of sweat roll down my spine. This is the worst plan ever. This, I thought, must be how a frog feels when it catches the eye of a snake. But I opened my mouth. There was no going back. Go, Chizuru, go! I'll be your cheerleader, Chizuru. Go, Chizuru, go! Well, all of the Choshu soldiers ran away.
Oh, oops, is that so?
Although he hadn't said anything, he'd clearly been serving as a sort of rear guard for the Choshu during their retreat. Now that they're gone, I don't think there really is a reason for you to fight. His eyebrows went up and he looked at me more closely with a shy hint of perplexion. Are you related to Amagiri by any chance? There is no need to fight. Our job is to protect the Imperial Estate. If you still insist on drawing your gun, Shiranui's expression still looked warped. He let out an exasperated sigh.
Ah, screw it!
He put his gun away and he scratched his head.
You've got balls, kid. I'll give you that. I'm feeling good about meeting new people today. Don't let this go to your head, though. Next time I won't go easy on you or Harada here.
Harada moved himself between me and Shiranui. I'm here for this new trio rivalry we've got going on. This is good.
Fine by me. I've already got plenty of friends, but I could use a good enemy. Let's just save the fun for later, shall we?
Maybe this time. But I'm not the kind of guy who enjoys the anticipation, if you know what I mean.
And with a raucous laugh, he was gone. Harada followed the direction Shiranui went for a few hundred feet, then returned once he was sure the man had actually disappeared.
Well, hope to see you around.
I can't believe that actually worked. Harada gave me a short tap on the head. Boop.
Hey, don't be too crazy. You worry me.
He hadn't said much, but those few words were enough to let me know that he cared about me. Aww. I'm sorry. I mumbled. Harada looked at me for a moment and his eyes thinned. Ah, we're a tough girl. Woo!
No, I think you did the right thing. After all, none of our guys got hurt, right? Besides, the commander's orders were to fight any Choshu who showed up, not track them down. So, thanks.
Okay. Yay. We did it. Harada looked towards the direction they ran. He looked a little sad.
If they keep running, they might not make it.
What?
The Choshu guys. There's no way in hell they can just walk on back to Choshu. I'm sure it's going to be tough for them.
I was initially confused by his statement, but then I realized they'll be running through enemy territory, and they might never make it home.
Well, that's war, right? There's nothing we could do about it anyway. I've got a feeling we haven't seen the last of that Shiranui guy.
I don't know why, but I kinda had the same hunch. So, if you see him again, would you fight him? Harada was one of the captains of the Shinsengumi. So long as Shiranui was allied with the Choshu, there was no doubt they were forever enemies.
He did manage to dodge my spear. I guess he'll be a challenging opponent. Still, my job's to fight. That's what I'll do.
Harada. There was no mistaking the resolve in his voice. I was sure that the man called Shiranui would no doubt prove a dangerous foe, but Harada's smile put me at ease, even for just a while. With the battle at Kogai Gate finally at an end, the men who remained began to clean up. I helped as best I could, moving rubble and tending to the wounded, glad that the battle was finally over. The Choshu extremists' attempted attack on the imperial estate eventually came to be known as the Hamaguri Rebellion. Although the Shinsengumi were called to action, their efforts were stymied, and they found little in the way of glory. Communication with their superiors was poor at best, and they spent much of the battle waiting with the reserves. When the Shinsengumi finally entered the battle, each man found several strange opponents awaiting him. Chikage Kazuma, who defeated Okita at Ikeda, claimed to be from the Satsuma domain during his encounter with Hijikata. Kyuju Amagiri, the man who shattered Heisuke's head guard at Ikeda, also claimed membership in the Satsuma. This guy. They had also met Kyo Shiranui, who'd fought alongside men from Choshu. Whoever they were, it was clear they were not allies of the Shinsengumi. Indeed, it seemed they could easily become some of its greatest enemies. If they were to meet in open battle, the casualties would be severe. By the time the battle was over, the commanders of the Choshu attack had been killed in the fighting, or took their own lives. There were some soldiers, however, who escaped, setting Kyoto ablaze as they fled. By some terrible misfortune, winds that day blew from the north and fanned the flames, reducing the southern end of the imperial estate to ash. As a result of the Choshu attack, many imperial nationalists were executed. With the Hamaguri rebellion over, the Choshu were branded as traitors for attacking the estate. From then on, they were acknowledged enemies of the court. And so it was. Fading out. I gotta say, Sanos really make me work for those CGs. It's been keeping them hidden. I haven't gotten a dedicated one yet. Wonder when. It's gonna take us for another stroll. September 1864. The closeness in time between the battles of the Ikeda Inn and the Imperial Palace created significant civil unrest within Kyoto. The Shinsengumi redoubled their efforts to keep people safe, but the more they worked, the more the shogun put them to work. His approval of their activities meant more official business, and it stretched them thin. Even with recruits from Kyoto and Osaka, it wasn't enough. After many discussions, the Shinsengumi chose to recruit even more men from Edo, and Heisuke was tasked with preliminary scouting in the city. Oh, are we saying bye to Heisuke again? Oh, we are, okay. Well, as much as I love you, Heisuke, we are done with your route for now. So we're just gonna leave that alone. And then we can ask Kondo to train us, because we gotta be tough, girl. Gotta keep up that tough act. Yeah, I want to watch over everyone while you're gone. Train me, senpai. Senpai-sensei. Will we ever put this to use? I don't know. Our words were pretty effective against, Kyo. Let's see. My mind and heart were still reflecting on the wonderful thing that just happened. I returned to my room with my head held high. I'd been staying there for a while now, but sometimes I still felt like I was baggage to them. They needed me for one thing and one thing only. I was never really a part of them, nor did I belong. But now... Kondo's words filled in some of the holes in my heart. Just a little, but I treasured the feeling. Smiling, I collapsed onto my futon. The strain and fatigue from earlier was a good feeling, and I let it drag me under to sleep. I'm like, this isn't when we run into Sanan yet, is it? Nope. Chapter 3. Really? Wow. I feel like we blitzed through 2 pretty quickly there. You know, just a moment. I want to see. Are we past budding stage with you? I haven't checked. Yeah, we are. 30%. Nice, nice. The dawn of the new year arrived. It was February of 1865, and we finished eating breakfast. I was carrying a plate full of tea and opened the door to the common room. Tea's ready.
Oh, thank you, Yukimura.
I made my way around the room, pouring a cup of tea for each person there, making sure not to spill. He gave me a warm smile as I handed him his tea.
There is nothing quite so delicious as hot tea on a cold day.
Thank you. I felt a flush of pride at his words, even though I knew quite well that serving tea was hardly impressive. Just the same, I felt as if I was helping out in a way, and that was a nice feeling. Then Hijikata spoke, and his words brought me back to the present.
The Yagi have been good to us so far, but this place is getting crowded. True, it is getting a little small, especially with all the new guys coming in. If we could move to a bigger place, that'd be great. Some of the guys in the dorm look stiffed. Yeah, the guys over at my Kawa residence are practically smushed sushi the way they sleep. Oh, to be a young grunt these days, I pity them. If only there was something we could do.
Easy for us to say, but imagine trying to find who else is willing to let us stay at their place. I mean, we are Kyoto's most hated.
A person sitting beside Kondo pointed at the map spread upon the table. Oh, is this, oh, hello, it's you again. Well, we can skip through you and your brother. Miki! Beautiful Miki! There he is! Oh, he's so beautiful. I just love his design so much. I don't know why. I think we'll go through this scene on Sanon's route, but for now we can skip through. Aren't those guys just the worst? Yeah, they're totally the worst. Also, Sanon's upset. So we're gonna get that thing with him again pretty soon. We got that incidental CG with him last time.
The setting sun glowed through the windows with a warm, rich maroon, an ominous kind of beauty. I think this is probably leading up to the scene of, do I want to invest? Yeah, do I want to investigate or not? I don't think so. I think we're okay. Yeah, okay. Should we start from here? What was... Yeah, okay, so there. Yeah, you know what? We'll just start from here. Why not?
Come on, man. Who would have thought he'd drink that stuff? I mean, Sanan was in charge of watching that stuff anyway, so it's not like we would have known. If it were hidden in a small bottle, we would have no way of knowing if it was on him. I mean, I suppose there is a chance that the treatment would heal his arm, but... It didn't work, did it? Everybody who took it went crazy. Then Sanan would be...
I wondered what they meant by treatment. Occasionally, I'd heard the captains referring to something similar from time to time. So did Sanan drink that thing?
I believe Colonel Sanan was working on improving it. He hoped to repair his arm before it had deteriorated too far. Perhaps he felt he was finished, or at least close enough. Whatever the case, when he realized his failure, he ignored Soji's counsel and attempted suicide.
Suicide?! The words were past my lips before I'd even thought them. As one, all eyes in the room turned toward me.
Just what the hell are you doing here?
The longer his cold gaze kept me pinned, the tighter my throat became until I could barely breathe, let alone speak. I felt a strange combination of anxiety, suspicion, and animosity that I had felt before on the night I arrived at the headquarters of the Shinsengumi. Now, as then, I knew the meaning of that gaze.
Toshi, I think it's time you told her what's going on. She's Koto's daughter, after all. She has a right to know.
I felt my eyes go wide at the mention of my father's name. Why would my father's name come up here? Don't tell me. He has something to do with this. Hijikata's gaze slid to Kondo, sporting an unpleasant grimace. After a moment, however, he gave a long, exasperated sigh and turned back to me.
I'm going to make this clear. The Shinsengumi doesn't need you. There's a chance you'll help us find Kodo, but even without your help, we'll find him eventually. A minor setback at worst. You do anything weird, we'll kill you. I'm about to tell you what's going on here, but keep in mind that your life is in our hands.
The intensity of Hijikata's statement felt like a sharp dagger pointed at my throat. I'm the daughter. The Shinsengumi only let me stay with them in the slight chance I'd come in handy when the time arose to search for my father. Although it wasn't their primary duty, the Shinsengumi had the watch for all manhunts. There's nothing left to tie me here, apart from my memories of the last year. Are you going to kill me? My words were flushed with worry, and Hijikata thinned his eyes like he was speaking to a servant.
We aren't going to kill you yet, but don't think that means you're in the clear.
Oh. I was glad, I suppose, that I wasn't going to be killed, but I was still far from happy. I'd been with the Shinsengumi for nearly a year, and my position with them hadn't changed. The truth cut deep.
We never told you, but Kodo was here because he was developing, treatment.
You mean... I gulped audibly, and I carefully formulated what I was going to say in my head before I said it aloud. The one that Sanan took? When Kondo nodded, it was as if there was a great weight resting on him.
It was first brought to us by one of the Shogun's men. We were told this concoction was obtained from a trade with Western merchants.
Curiosity swelled inside of me, and my head felt light from the anticipation. Still, I knew that digging deep is dangerous. These thoughts swirled.
It was a foreign drug, built with the ability to augment a man's healing and physical strength. Any who drank it would, supposedly,
be strong enough to conquer a wild beast. Barring a truly fatal wound, any injuries from battle would heal almost immediately. Unless one were to be decapitated or be pierced in the heart, you can engage in combat forever.
Does such a concoction really exist? It felt like I was hearing some sort of fairy tale.
Of course, all of this comes with a price.
A price?
The drink spurs men into madness, and they are unable to survive without drinking the blood of others. Kondo took it upon himself to experiment on the Shinsengumi in an attempt to improve the drug.
My father... Somewhere deep in my heart, I knew my father had some connection with all of this. Knowing my father was involved with driving men mad, all I could do was wonder why. To perform experiments on the Shinsengumi. So that night in the alley... Saito nodded plainly.
We keep the guys who've taken it in the Nanbu house. If we kept them at Yagi house, suspicions would have been aroused. So long as they don't get any blood, they stay pretty calm.
Saito spoke quietly and indifferently. It was as if what he talked about was a distant memory. Living with them for so long made me forget. There was still a line between myself and the Shinsengumi men that couldn't be crossed, and his coldness reminded me of this notion.
You alright, Chizuru? You don't look too well.
I'm alright.
Don't push yourself. I mean, of course you'd be sick after hearing this.
Alright, we've told her enough. We need to think about Sanon.
Well, yeah, but... I mean, look at him. He's practically dead.
Well, this batch is new, so the effects could be different. It's not a sure thing yet that he'll go mad. Well, if that crap actually does what it is supposed to, then that cut isn't going to kill him.
Hijikata felt like he was restrained in saying this, as if he was trying to keep his hopes low.
Kondo, can you keep an eye on him? Tonight's gonna tell if he lives or dies. Or goes crazy.
Very well. Soji is with him, right?
Kondo nodded deeply, then stood and walked towards the room.
Don't let anyone near Sanon's room, especially Ito's men.
Yeah, I know.
Shinpachi, go check on the Maekawa house.
Got it.
As he passed, Nagakura's eyes met mine for an instant, and his gaze... In them I saw the same hostility felt on the night I'd first arrived, and they were filled with doubt and suspicion towards me.
Saito, I want you in the inner courtyard. If Ito and his guys show up, keep them occupied.
Understood.
Eventually, Hijikata faced his gaze to me.
Yukimura, I want you to stay with one of the captains.
Okay. It seemed as though his suggestion wasn't out of worry for my well-being, but rather that it wasn't a wise idea for me to be wandering around.
Stay out of the Nanbu house. They get kind of rowdy at night.
Alright. Thanks for looking out for me. I bowed slightly, but even with their warnings I would be limited. Where should I go? Where will Harada be? Will he be anywhere? Let's make a save. Okay. Well. Let's try going outside, I guess? I took a deep breath, and my lungs filled with crisp, cold air. It brought me a sense of calm, cooling me down. I stood in disbelief of everything that happened tonight. Alright, I picked good.
Oh hey, you're looking way better than earlier.
You think so?
Aw, don't force yourself to smile for me. Tonight was... hard. It shook you up pretty bad, huh? That was some heavy stuff tonight.
Oh, it's not like that. It was hard for me to be up front with him, so I attempted to look stoic as best as I could.
You know, you don't have to act so tough. There is nothing wrong with admitting something is scary if you feel vulnerable. Well, I guess with the others, maybe you wouldn't want to admit it to them.
Aw. We're just two tough people being vulnerable with each other. So cute. After saying his piece, Harada lightly patted my head. Harada. It may have been a small gesture, but I couldn't deny it brightened my mood a little. Despite the circumstances, I appreciated Harada treating me as if everything was going to be okay. What's going to happen to Sanan?
Who can say? I mean, he wasn't taking his injury well.
I know. I had nothing really to chime in with, so I nodded. I wasn't sure how much my opinion would matter, considering that I was an outsider to them.
Even back in our Edo days, he was patient in his care with me. I really want him to pull through. I mean, even you could die at any time.
He looked up at the sky.
Even when Sanan wakes up, however, there is no guarantee that he will be his usual self.
I watched his expression and thought to myself, what does Harada think of the serum? Has he accepted it as a necessary risk for the Shinsengumi? Does he tell himself that it's for the good of his men and that it can't be helped? Harada? I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to know what he was thinking, but I shut my mouth. Nothing. Never mind.
What were you gonna say? You don't have to keep everything to yourself, you know.
No, don't worry about it. It's really nothing.
You sure? Then that's fine. I hope Sanan would hurry up and wake. And I hope he's the Sanan we all know. I guess I could be asking for too much, huh?
Yes, it might be asking for too much. Come on now, we all wish for the same thing. I silently shook my head. I don't think that's asking for too much. We all wish for the same thing. It was something I truly meant. Harada stood silently, watching the leaves dance around us, and turned to me. Aw. What a sweet moment.
Thanks. You're really nice, you know that?
Aw. You're pretty nice, too. Our conversation met a halt. The thought of my father conducting experiments with that medicine, and knowing that, with it, he was performing cruel acts on men. It gave me so many things to worry about, but right now all I could wish was for Sanan to pull through. Then an unexpected visitor arrived. Oh? Oh! Takeda.
Ah, what brings the two of you here at such a late hour tonight?
Same could be said to you. I might ask, where are you off to at this hour? If you break curfew, then you'll be punished.
I was only training at the Mibu Temple. The chief gave me approval.
A settlement west of Kyoto, it was comprised of homes, farmhouses, and a single temple. For a secret meeting?
I see. Would you mind getting a move on, then? We're dealing with a situation.
A situation? What happened?
I wasn't given much details either. I bet you one of those nationalists infiltrated the compounds. I'd suggest you hurry back to your room. It doesn't seem like Kondo and the others hold you in high regards. Don't get in trouble now.
That's none of your business.
Takeda darted an icy gaze towards Harada, and he scurried beyond the gates. I'm picturing giant Takeda scurrying. Was what you said okay to say?
Well, for now, I think it was okay. For now, we'll have to hope Hijikata finds some way out of this mess for us tomorrow.